Okay, thank you, Alejandro. I will focus my presentation on how territorial factors and the type of blue economy in the region relate to international cooperations. My comments are based on the following premises. Next, please. First is that cooperation is forced by geography, especially in the Mediterranean area and the WestMED. Secondly, there is a strong linkage between marine spatial planning and cooperation. Also, MSP and blue economy require different forms of cooperation. And finally, it is an important point, the key role that plays the European Union, both marine spatial planning and cooperation. Next, please. So the WestMED region, as appear here in this slide, due to its geographical morphology, concentration of activity, and common environmental problems, has been provided in the last decades with multilateral coordination and cooperation mechanism, and regional government infrastructures as regulations and supranational institutions, but with irregular and even discouraging results. In this map, I try to show the importance of territoriality and the large amount of maritime space that overlaps around the WestMED region. While MSP, and in particular its cross-border dimension, is not viable in a non-cooperative environment, the blue economy is hardly viable without the presence of competition and competitiveness. Maritime spatial planning and blue economy require different forms of cooperation that challenge persistent schemes in a geopolitical and economic environment characterized by the North-South divide. MSP and blue economy emerged as initiatives particularly associated with the European Union, whose regional leadership imprints different approaches to both the planning and development of the maritime economy. Based on these considerations, a few concise remarks on how territorial factors and the blue economy approach are involved in international cooperation. Next. Respect the key issues on maritime jurisdiction and MSP. I would like to highlight these 3 points. First, that all national plans have a cross-border dimension. Secondly, all non-EU southern shore states must delimit their maritime borders without European Union countries. And third important point is that EU member states have jurisdiction over nearly the 60% of the WestMED region. So we can see all this consideration in the attached map, where we can see the system of 5 triple points. This means that most of the countries around the region have connection or contact with other countries of the region. Next, please. The consequence of this territorial model in this diagram, it is represented the different contacts. There are a lot of territorial connection among the countries, and then the most important consequence is the most of the national plans and transnational arrangements related to WestMED will be regulated in the context of the European Union, which in turn will exercise the largest share of responsibility in the governance of the region. Next, please. Concerning the blue economy in the Western Mediterranean, so I think that a very important point is that tourism is the most important established sector of the blue economy. So the figures are very relevant. At the European Union level, tourism accounts for the 40% of gross value added, as well as the 62% of employment. But in the Mediterranean region, this figure double, as tourism accounts for the 80% of the gross value added and employment. A third point is that tourism is concentrated in the North Bank, in countries like France, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Turkey. In these five countries, tourism accounts for the 80%. So the blue economy is very important, but within this, in the context of the blue economy, tourism is the most important activity connected with the traditional of established sectors. Next, please. The problems. So the last report on blue economy that was published recently highlight the following. There is a lack of governance and regulation regarding blue economy or blue growth. There is also a need to improve financial instruments in order to promote the blue economy sector. And also there is an insufficient knowledge of effects on marine ecosystems. The blue economy in the Mediterranean area, although with an outstanding potential for emerging sectors, is still characterized by the dominance of tourism, both in terms of gross added value and employment. This activity is strongly exposed to geopolitical and health risk, as is happening now with COVID crisis, and has a limited technological and innovation base. Tourism is also a competitive market with rapid transfer between countries, depending on stability and risk. Unlike the maritime spatial planning, the strong competitiveness does not favor cooperation, and this is one of the main characteristics of the tourism sector. Next, please. So, some conclusions. First, I identify some positive aspects. The first is that in the Mediterranean context, the WestMED area is an exception due to the dominant presence of European Union member countries. Both WestMED and blue economy or blue growth have common strategies and rules. This is one of the advantages of the European Union political structure. A second positive aspect is that regional cooperation is simplified and facilitated by the existence of cooperation frameworks between the European Union and other countries, either with a bilateral or multilateral approach. Other aspects that are not so positive, I think one of them is the lack of institutional development for cooperation on the South Bank. So I think it is very important what the colleague from Tunisia spoke about the projects regarding the maritime cluster. And I think the most important critical aspect is that the tourism market works on a system of win-loss communicating vessels. So cooperation is burdened by the strong competition. So this is all from my side. And thank you very much for your attention.